Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Abrazo Football Podcast. Brooks and Blaine here. Hope everybody had a good weekend or extended weekend, depending on where you are in the world. Brooks, how was your weekend?
It's been all right. I mean, Arsenal had a good win in the Derby, so that always helps out. Barcelona won the Supercopa, so that always helps out. It's been a good weekend. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea broke their three-game win streak to get 3 points.
Yeah, they finally
We
got a
do it.
win.
We do everything in threes. Yo, so yeah, we're good. I'm good. Yeah, Delta Center, Jazz old venue is being renamed to the Delta Center for
Again?
yeah, like on a 30-year deal.
So hold on,
Nostalgia
Delta
kicks in.
Airlines and whatever it is have signed another agreement.
The Utah
Oh, we
Jazz
gotta
and
get a
Delta
we
Airlines.
gotta
CEO was in the building last night. CEO pulled up to the
Ed
Delta
Bastion?
Center. Yeah, Ed was in the house, shaking hands and kissing babies. So Jazz played the Sixers last night. He pulled up for the game. He was wearing a jersey,
No way.
shaking hands and kissing babies, and he said, we're happy to be home again. Delta Center until like I want to say like 2045, and then like they have an option to like extend for another decade. Is stupid in a good way. And
Very
Kaylee
good.
told me that the Salt Lake International Airport is like expanding their status with Delta to become an even bigger hub. So we'll have more direct international flights and more flights a day, and like a new terminal that's, I mean, most we have two terminals right now, and one of them's mostly exclusively Delta, but now we're gonna have like another terminal that's only Delta, which is
Dang.
great because we only fly Delta.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they same. They one of their biggest lounges is in Salt Lake. Like they just revamped it. It's massive. So, and I mean I own a Delta stock, so it's always nice to see Ed show face, buy some
Yeah,
more property up in Salt Lake. So that's good. That's
yeah.
cool. I didn't know that. Nice. Congrats.
Ed is back. He's back. He's back in the city.
Back to
That's
where MJ dropped.
yeah.
Oh, made a name for himself. The Delta
Yeah.
Center.
Broke jazz fan hearts nationwide in '98. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Cool.
Everyone knows Ed though. If you've been on a Delta flight, you know Ed. Everyone knows Ed.
Ed.
You know Ed. I was like, "Sure, is that Ed?" He grabs Mike. He's like, "Let me talk to you people for a minute. I'm so happy to be back." I was like, "You gotta be kidding me."
See, because I saw you post that on Instagram, and I was like, hold on. I didn't even think twice until you mentioned it. I'm like, wait, Delta Center. That's not because what is it called? Energy Solutions,
Right
or is
now,
that a different?
it was Energy Solutions and it was Vivid Smart Home
Oh, you're right, right, right. Okay, okay, okay.
because I guess Delta was down bad in the
Yeah,
recession, and that's when they lost the naming rights. But they back, and they're stronger than ever. And Ed said, "We ain't never leaving. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't ever gonna abandon the people again."
20 years plus an option. Yeah, it sounds like they're never leaving. That's crazy. Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, enough about Utah sports scene. Let's get straight into it. So let's talk first things first, and like let's just get the elephant out of the room. There was a Ukrainian player that we spoke about last week. I had no idea who he was.
Now he's out here
About
pre-ordering his jersey.
yeah, yeah. Fast forward to 30 hours ago, I couldn't live without him. So obviously we're talking. What's his name? Mudryk. How do you say his first name?
Mikhailo Mudryk. Yeah,
I'm just gonna call him Mudryk until I, get
Mudryk.
down
There you go.
the pronunciation. But I mean, I know, he was poised to go to Arsenal, right? And then
I mean,
Chelsea
it's not even
did.
poised. He was posting. He was flirting. He was like liking pics, reposting pics of him put photoshopped in an Arsenal shirt. He was sending the prayer emojis. Yeah, he was definitely seeming like he was en route to North London.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's fair. He was on his way, but Chelsea. I mean, I hate to say it, Chelsea did what Chelsea do best. Okay, and I hate. I'm gonna try to say this the nicest way as possible. Like Chelsea, like I don't mind seeing another team in London do well. I'm not vengeful. I'm not spiteful. I want to see Arsenal win the title this season. I'm happy about that. Chelsea, the board, whether it's the new board, the old board, they're a hateful group of people. They don't want to see Arsenal thrive. They don't want to see Crystal Palace thrive. They don't want to see
Well,
Brentford. They don't want to see Spurs. They don't want to see West Ham, right? They definitely don't want to see Fulham thrive. So let's go back to 2016. Spurs are having the best season of their year, or best season they've had in a long time. They're about to win the Premier League. Chelsea is like in a relegation battle. This is the year Leicester won. Leicester clinched the title because Chelsea beat them at White Hart Lane, right?
yeah. Eden Hazard
And
scored
yes,
the goal.
I feel like Chelsea, there's something about us. We do whatever we can to prevent another London club from shining. Another player was supposed to go to Spurs, Willian. Chelsea hijacked the transfer. There's another player that's supposed to go to Spurs this transfer window. Guess who's also going to hijack that deal? Chelsea.
Yeah.
Arsenal is sailing at the top of the league. Striker gets injured. They're looking for reinforcements in the form of a winger that maybe they could play inside. Chelsea, we don't need a winger. You guys were going to buy João Felix at one point. Or you guys were considering paying that loan. We're like, don't let them do it. We'll take you on loan. Oh, you're gonna bring in a different winger? Nah, no. What they offer you this much? We'll double it. We don't need them either. Like I feel like they just do things like this just to like make sure other teams in London don't get stronger. That's the theory I'm running with.
Yeah, no, and that's a theory that a lot of like Blues fans are going with. But like to like break it down more, I guess open it up a little bit more into like some insight. Because as you know, Arsenal are a very young squad, and they're in this rebuilding phase with Arteta. And so they have a list of players. I mean, you probably, if you watched some of the documentary, you've probably seen, you know, like what they want at each position, how many backups, X, whatever, at each position. Yeah. So they have an idea of who they want to go for. And like any goal you set, you have, or purchase you're about to make, a house, for example, you say, okay, well, this is my budget. I'm not going over it. Within this budget, this is what I'm looking for. So, you know, rewind last season in Champions League when this kid burst onto the scene. They were like, oh, we want this kid. So they never made an official bid until this transfer window. Obviously, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, if a club is demanding a specific, you know, release clause, there's only one thing you can do, and that's pay the release clause. Arsenal, or not even a release clause, but just like what they're asking in this situation.
If there's a valuation, you pay it.
Yeah. So Transfer Market says he's worth 40. Shakhtar say he's worth 100. Arsenal's like, well, we value him at, it was like, I think it was 70 and then 25 add-ons or whatever, you know, potentially 95. And they, I mean, so fair play to Arsenal for being like, okay, hey, I know that you're saying 100. We don't value him at that. So either take it or leave it. They left it. Chelsea was like, heard you. Let me call up real quick, give you 100 million. Yeah, you accept it. Cool. Let me call up this boy, see if he wants to come. Then they got Graham Potter on the phone to talk to him, be like, you will be a starter for us. You're going to be in my plans immediately once you sign these papers if you come here. And I mean, Chelsea did it again. You know, they pulled through with getting this kid.
I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm surprised he wasn't in the starting lineup today.
Seriously, yeah. He was up until like 2 a.m. though. So yeah. Graham Potter, I'm sure, was like, because that's all he said. And no disrespect to Graham Potter, but they interviewed him a couple times about this boy, and he was like, all he can say is, yeah, I think that Chelsea fans will be excited because he's very fast. I'm like, bro, do you not know who you're getting? You just watched the YouTube videos like everybody else and saw that he's fast.
Bro, to be fair, it's not like he's an established pro. He has less than 10 goals.
Yes.
It's like, what are we really going off of? I mean, he scored a world beater goal against Celtic.
And like, they keep showing it. Yeah.
That's like I watched the highlights and I'm like, I'm seeing all of the same games and plays from different angles. But
he is super fast on that wing.
Oh, he's fast. He's fast. I mean, and I'm sure he's good. Like I don't have like I'm not a scout. I don't know what to scout. I mean, from a certain perspective. But I mean, I'm saying if people are saying he's good, I'm just saying like I understand why Arsenal would say he's only worth a certain amount
to them, especially being burnt by Pepe.
Yeah, but I mean, I certainly don't think it was wise to spend that much money on a guy that
Yeah.
has less goals, less senior
Then yeah.
goals than John Terry. You know, that's regardless of, I'm just saying, like, a guy that's like, oh yeah, like like that's like almost like spending $100 million on Vinicius Jr. in 2019, like before he was a superstar. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
he looks like he could be. He's really fast. He scored some outrageous goals. He can dribble out of a cactus patch. But like,
Yeah.
is he going to be worth $1 billion? He could
So,
be.
so
He
yeah.
might be. If he goes to Chelsea, he most certainly won't be.
So this is my question now that you said that, because I don't want to be disrespectful, but I wanted your opinion on this. So basically, I obviously like the kid. I've been following for some time. Like I lived for multiple years a couple hours away, like a less than a 2 hour train ride from Donetsk. Had to go there to get my visa renewed. We were there quite a bit. So I was like, oh, cool. Like Shakhtar was a big team there. Like this kid's on fire, whatever. So I want him to do well. I want him to succeed. Um, I was thinking for his sake, wouldn't you want to go at a team who's known for with a coach who's known for growing young, somewhat unproven players into Bukayo Saka's and Emil Smith Rose or people that are like it's a young squad. They're trying to grow and develop these players. William Saliba, Ben White. So I'm just not sure. I mean, you kind of hit that. You kind of mentioned it. So I just wanted to ask you, like, do you think that Chelsea is the right place for an unproven, potentially extremely talented 22-year-old?
I
Because
mean, it
they
depends.
buy talent, they buy proven. Like usually, it's
Yeah.
like.
So this is how I look at it. Like,
Okay,
if I was that kid, and in this January transfer window, I had a choice between Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal look like they're going to win the league. I could come in and give them a boost and potentially help them win the league. And they could follow that philosophy, and Arsenal could be the future of football for the next 7 to 10 seasons.
or
With
eight and a
everybody
half if they
being,
signed him till 2030, like or
yeah,
2031, like
yeah,
Chelsea.
yeah, yeah. So that could be something real. But I mean, at the same time, it's like if the alternative is if that didn't work out, and the alternative is like you can go to another club that is notorious for spending money
Yeah,
like it's a game of Monopoly,
yeah, yeah.
and they are also successful. They're not successful right now, but like
No, and that's not even the
throughout
question. Like in with youth,
which
like when he's like, because they don't really take time to develop. Like we've talked about Tariq Lamptey, Declan Rice,
oh
even
they
Eddie
don't
Nketiah they sold back. Like they just don't like to wait, let these kids develop into what they can be. So do you think that they'll give him the time to develop into what he potentially could be?
nothing's guaranteed at Chelsea. Just
Yeah,
they spent $100 million on another player less than 2 years ago, and he's not even at the club. So nothing's
dang.
like you're just like it's just a game to Chelsea. Like it doesn't matter. Like if you're one of
Yeah,
Chelsea's youth players, you're not gonna get a chance. If you're someone that Chelsea bought for less than £75 million and you don't go well for a season, they're gonna get you out. Timo Werner, he's
yeah.
gone. He's
KDB,
gone.
Mohamed Salah.
KDB, Mohamed Salah, even though they were like basically free transfers. I think Mohamed Salah was
Yeah,
like 20, 30 grand or 30 million, but still, like they won't hesitate. So I mean, you know, uh, objective but also you could say like you could look at Reece James. You could
yeah.
also look at Mason Mount. Those are probably the only two people that have come through the Chelsea Academy since John Terry. So there's a
Yeah, because
whopping
Tammy
three.
Abraham, they didn't want to wait for him to develop. Like
Yeah,
Mason Mount,
but
I think Mason
it,
Mount could even be better with. It doesn't have to be a Arteta, but with a manager that maybe can grow. I don't know. I'm not trying to slam
yeah,
Graham Potter, but Pep
yeah. I
Guardiola
mean,
or Jurgen
I
Klopp
don't
or
know
something.
anything about Graham Potter and what his
Yeah.
recruitment like and how he is with youth.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's better coaches for youth players. There's better coaches that can like get the best out of a 20-year-old player.
Mm-hmm.
And those coaches would, I mean, it seems like Arteta seems like he's really good with youth.
Yeah.
Pep
That's the only
Guardiola
reason
seems
I'm
like
saying
he's
that.
really good with youth.
Xavi probably, I think, would be the same.
Xavi. Even Jurgen Klopp seems like he would probably be
Right.
pretty. So I don't
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I can't speak to Graham Potter because I don't really know if he's
Yeah.
good with youth or not. I mean, he did buy Tariq Lamptey, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I don't know. So I mean, honestly, I would say if I were him, I would feel like my odds are pretty good to succeed at Chelsea, and I would be safe because they spent 100. But at the same time, I would think
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not safe because I'm on an 8-year deal,
Yeah.
and there was a guy that they bought literally a season ago that had more prestige than me, had more accomplishments than me, had more of a track record than me,
Multiple leagues, multiple teams.
multiple leagues, multiple teams, over 100 goals in the Premier League. Like he's like in the top
International
20
level as well.
Yeah, runner up of the World Cup. They decided, you know, it's fine. Like we're gonna take a $90 million hit, and we're gonna let you go back to Italy. So I mean, if I were him, I would have, like, obviously it's just a shame that Arsenal didn't play ball. They lost a deal over $5 million.
Yeah, it seems
Over
that
$5
that's all.
million.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing is, like, if you look at the deal that Arsenal offered him versus the deal that Chelsea offered him, obviously it's just £5 million, and like for like Shakhtar is a smaller club. They aren't like they need money because like right now with like the war, like they need money. So like it's not, you know, so it's like what I'm getting at is like Chelsea was like, we'll give you 100 or whatever. We're just not going to give it to you all at one time. Like we're going to give you 20 this season, 20 next. Like we're going to give you basically 20 a season for like the next 5 seasons, or maybe it's 15. Like it's not like, it doesn't seem that bad when it's spread out. And it's like Arsenal, you couldn't have done something similar. Like,
I mean, all Shakhtar wanted was 100, and so Arsenal was doing the same thing, but it wasn't 100. And I think that one of the biggest things that got Shakhtar to say yes was the number of 100, and 2, some of the bonuses that are going to be triggered if and owed to Shakhtar if they're hit is, I think, a bit more tangible, and the history shows that it's more possible than Arsenal, such as winning the Champions League with Mudryk. Arsenal or Chelsea, no matter how bad they're doing in the league, there's always a potential that they'll win the Champions League. And so, so there you go. So that was one of the bonuses. It was like, if you win the Champions League with him, you'll get X amount more. And so basically, Shakhtar said, hey, they're giving us what we want for you. Arsenal is not, so you can say yes to Chelsea or you're here till summer. And he was like, yes to Chelsea. Let's go. Let's get on this plane and get there. So, and your point, like it's not a bad, you're with Chelsea. You're with one of the best clubs in the last 20 years in the world. So
probability is you're going to win trophies.
You're
going to win.
Even if you take a year off of Champions League in 2023, 2024, if by chance Chelsea don't make it, the next year they're making it.
Yeah.
This season, I mean, if they don't make Champions League, they're going to make it next season.
Well, it's like, this is honestly one of the things where like people are like, oh yeah, like it's hard to recruit players because you're not going to be playing in Europe. It's like, it's only hard to recruit players if you will never be playing in Europe. It's like if it's like, if we're bombing this season, but you see, we're buying you. We have this other guy lined up. We got 200 million in the bank that we're going to use on other people. And these guys already said they're coming in the summer. It's like, and you can see all these guys that are injured. It's like, we have a squad. We're down bad because we're not. And like, just look at our track record. Like, this is us. We do bad, then we do good for 3 seasons, then we do bad, then we do good again. And it's like, you're going to be fine. You're just not going to be fine today,
this season,
where it's like you're not going to take home a Premier League title this April. You're not going to be. I mean, Arsenal could probably win Europa if they wanted to, you know. So like you don't have the opportunity to win a domestic. Or are they still in the FA Cup?
Chelsea?
I can't remember. No, I'm talking about Arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they
Yeah, so I
just
mean, I
won
feel like
a
they
couple
can win
days
like
in white.
three or four trophies this season still with Arsenal. So it's like with
Yeah, I
Chelsea,
mean
it's
they
like we have
definitely
nothing.
could. They definitely could, and hopefully they'll get back to where they were in the prime time of Wenger days and prior to him. But Chelsea still is in. I mean, aside from this down year, which is going to happen when you sell your club to an entirely new establishment, you're going to have some growing pains. So that being said, they just spent 100 million, probably not all as we said on the books right now. But just to like clear things up, because there's a lot of like grumblings out there, like why is Chelsea spending so much money? How are they not getting in trouble for financial fair play? Blah 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 blah. Will you break it down real quick?
Yeah, so basically, yeah. So like when Roman sold the club to Bruce, or not Bruce, that's the old chair. When he sold the club to Todd Bowley and his consortium, all like any financial fair play like deficits they had, all of that was erased. So like it's like imagine they're starting from the point zero.
You
So
essentially have to balance the books to sell
all
this.
all you have to do is balance the books within 2 or 3 years. So they could spend $1 billion right now, and they would not be in violation of financial fair play until let's say 2024. At which point they would need to either make a lot of money between that and not spend more, or at that point they would need to start selling players.
Right.
So it's like, and then like, what's the penalty of being in violation of financial fair play?
Yeah.
You might not a slap on the wrist. Maybe you might not play in the UEFA Champions League. I mean, but
Or
that's like that
they
like
tell you the one transfer window, no buying. Okay.
or some
Yeah.
yeah or something like that. So like when you have like a wide open like, and this is like I feel like Chelsea's in a position where like I always wonder what a club would look like almost like Newcastle, where it's like there's no financial fair play over Newcastle right now because they've never played in Europe. And like the rules in England aren't the same as
Hmm.
the rules in Europe. The
Yeah.
same way in Spain, the rules are different.
Rules are
That put
wild here.
Spanish teams
Yeah.
at a major disadvantage. So it's like
Yeah.
Newcastle could go out and spend all the money in the world that they wanted on players. They're just choosing to be fiscally responsible about it. But they could do that and there would be no consequences until they made it into Europe. And then, yeah, it might be a slap on the wrist. Or you can't buy transfers. Like, bro, we just bid $1 billion. We can't afford to buy transfers right now anyway. So
Yeah.
I feel like, but with Chelsea, I feel like with that, and then a lot of their deals are like spread out across years. So it's like, what looks
Yeah.
like they spent, let's just say, 200 million right now on the year, they're really only spending 50. So it's like they're going to just carry that 50 over 4 years. So it's like, oh, like they didn't spend 200 million, they only spent 50. So it doesn't look that bad. And then like if this summer they sell a player for 25 and another player for 30, it's like they're back in the black. As far as UEFA is concerned, it's like they didn't actually even
Yeah.
spend any money in 2023, even though they've signed 200 million dollars worth of players. So that's how I understand it. I could be a little bit mistaken, but like from the other stuff that I've seen online, other people are kind of saying the same thing. Whereas like they don't really have to answer any questions for at least for another 2 years. And at that point, their financial situation could be completely different. They can just restructure their debt also and be like, oh yeah, like we're not going to pay for this until then, or we're going to pay for this that way. Kind of like the same way, Barcelona did, where it's like, oh yeah, like we had this much cap, but like we just sold this asset. So like now our debt to
Yeah.
income ratio is actually 4% instead of 50. So it's like, we're really not in trouble. And then like accountants are smart. Like I don't think I mean I've never really seen anybody suffer a consequence for financial fair play that was significant, to be fair.
No, even PSG, like they recently had one and they were fined something menial. But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, like
It
when
happened to City
Roman,
too, remember? It also
yeah,
happened to City 2 seasons ago,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
threatened kicking him out of the UEFA Champions League, and they're like no guys, it like we got a donation from the owner's brother. He like sent us a check for $300 million. You don't remember that? That was a charitable donation. They're like, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Okay, sorry we asked. You're
yeah.
good. Don't worry
Also,
about it.
cities like try to not put us in the Champions League and see what happens to you, because
Yeah.
we fund so much of what it is that you do. But yeah, when Roman sold the club, I mean, they had to get their books in order for Todd Boehly and all of them to buy the club. So they did all of that like balancing act at that time, which basically
Well,
let him start from zero.
Yeah, well, I think what it was is because it was such a weird sell, right? Because typically a sell, like if Man U sold their club, they wouldn't pay off the club's debts would not be paid off. They're like, okay, here's the club.
Hmm.
And by the way,
Yeah,
there's like $300 million we owe to
and our
like
stadium's falling apart.
Ajax, and we're playing in a condemned theater of dreams. Roman Abramovich, because of all the sanctions, they were like, you cannot make any
Make
money
money.
from this sale. So for him, he's just like, okay, fine. Then like, I'm just going to eat all of these loans. Like these loans that I've given to the club, don't pay me back because I'm not going to get the money. The British
Yeah,
government's going to get the money. So just don't pay them. Like just consider your debts resolved. So it's like, oh,
forgiven.
like
Yeah,
forgiven. Like, oh, like Romelu Lukaku, like he was free now. Jorginho that we're still
yeah,
paying for, he's free. Fofana, like all these players are essentially like on Roman. Like he just bought them with his personal credit card.
yeah. It's wild.
And
They got that's a
yeah,
great. What
it
Todd
was
Bowley walked into was, I mean,
yeah.
it's
I
pretty
mean, there's
amazing.
no better way to buy a club than from an owner who is forced to sell and is not allowed to make a dime, so they aren't
Yeah,
incentivized to squeeze you.
and still
You
loves
know,
the club and is gonna do right by them as he's leaving.
yeah. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's a complete cheat code though, because yeah,
Yeah,
like yeah, like to buy a club with no debt and it still had tons of assets, like
yeah,
valuable assets. But
yeah.
what do you do? What do you do? You you persevere.
Just like Barcelona did tonight.
Yeah, they got their first, Super Copa de España. Xavi got his first trophy as the manager of the Blaugrana. Good for him. Congratulations. It's like the most meaningless trophy that you could get domestically in Spain, but it's a trophy nonetheless. Every trophy counts. They don't ask what the trophies are when they show that trophy call. They say you've
Yeah,
won 25 trophies. They don't say, which ones were community shields or which ones were, Carabao Cups. Like they're all counted the same. So
right.
I mean it was a good game too. I mean, he has the kids looking good. The team's playing good, Lewandowski was allowed to play. Gavi was the man of the match in my opinion. The kid's such a baller.
Yeah.
But you know,
It was Gabby,
I
Pedro, and Lua that scored, right? The
yeah,
three.
yep. And Gavi got 2 assists, one for Lou, one for Pedri, and then he finished one himself. But
Kid.
yeah, it was good. Barcelona. Maybe hopefully they can win the league now, and maybe that'll be their second trophy. Obviously, I don't think they're gonna even try to win. Should they try to win Europa now that they were relegated? Is that worth going for?
When you talk about Barcelona, no, it's not because they're upset. They should be playing in Champions League. They know they should be playing in Champions League. It's a little bit like almost like it's a relegation as far as they're concerned, and like the
Yeah,
prestige of that club is concerned, and the city is concerned. Like people around here are like "It's Europa League. We aren't going to watch that. So I mean, you still want to win every trophy you can, but I don't think that the same amount of like effort is going to go into this as Champions League. I think that you bring up a point like if they're already going to win the league and make it in Champions League anyway, like is it really that important if they win Europa League? I mean, I think that what's good with this Europa League is this season is that there are some good teams in it, or at least teams that people want to see. Arsenal, Man U, Barcelona. Um, did Inter make it through? Inter made it through. Yeah,
yeah.
so they're in
Inter's
Champions
through.
League.
Inter and Bayern made it through.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be a pretty. I mean, the Europa League is actually kind of tough this year. So I would like to see them try to win this, but yeah, as far as Barcelona is concerned and their trophy cabinet looks like, they're like, nah, we're good.
Yeah, they don't. They probably don't want it in the trophy cabinet. Like they don't want people to remember that they got bounced out of the group stage,
2 years
and
in a row.
played in Europe. Yeah, yeah, back to
Yeah.
back. So okay, what else? What else happened this weekend? So I think we should mention. We mentioned briefly, North London Derby, White Hart Lane. Well, actually, let's take a step back. It's been a weird. So it was Friday the 13th 2 days ago, which maybe should have been a
Oh,
precursor for how wacky the weekend would be. Liverpool dropped points. City dropped points to Man U. Ironically, Man U looked good. My man Rashford looked good.
Yeah.
Rashford's a baller. Anyway, they both dropped points, and then Arsenal, big game. Can we gain some cover or some distance between us and Man City, or are Spurs gonna stop us? Are these Spurs gonna stop us? So first off, how did you think the game was gonna go? Spurs Arsenal at White Hart Lane.
So you asked me you asked me a couple weeks ago how many points out of a possible, was it 12 that Arsenal could get? And
Yeah,
I
the next
did,
4 games.
yeah, and I imagined that I said I would be fine if they drew one. So they drew to Newcastle in the first of those 4 games. And then so I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be right about this, they have to win this game, which they did. So I just think that there was a meme, a post that Bleacher Report did, and it was basically Squidward when it was, and he wakes up to like an alert, a tweet alert, Mudryk signs with Chelsea for 100 million, Arsenal target, Mudryk signs with Chelsea, goes back to bed, wakes up, Arsenal beat Arsenal beat Tottenham in the London Derby 2-0, and so it's just kind of like business as usual. So it just feels like that's Arsenal this season. It's like, no, like everybody's hating on us. No one thinks we can do this, but they keep coming through with these big wins and these big games. Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham. I think that it was the second time they've beaten Tottenham. This is the first time that they've done back-to-back, pulled the double on them since like 2014. So they mean business. I mean, 8 points ahead. Luckily, City lost over the weekend, or week. It wasn't a weekend game, but Arsenal look good, man. I know that they play City soon. I think they play United next Sunday. And United, like you said, man, United is on fire right now. Rashford is a man reborn. He's got like 7 in his last 6 or something. So that's going to be a tough one.
Rashy on
Again,
fire.
he's on fire, but I do think Arsenal is a better team, and I think that if they're going to win the league, I said this to Grace today. I'm like, if Arsenal are going to win the league, they have to beat Chelsea. They have to beat Tottenham tonight. If they don't beat Tottenham, they don't deserve to win the league. So, and they did, and they looked amazing. It was super convincing. It got a little bit edgy toward the last 30, 20 minutes, but they should beat United at home. It's at home. The game's at home to Arsenal.
Yeah, I guess I don't. I mean, yeah, it will be a good game. I don't know who's
It'll be a
going
very
to
good
win,
game.
but all I'll
Honestly,
say is
what is it?
no, go.
I was gonna say Arsenal have it's like a mental lapse when they play United. Just no matter how good they are and how bad United is, it just seems like they just can't get over like the mental capacity, like the mental hurt that United has inflicted in the past, and they just can't move past that. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, you know, I don't. Oh, I was gonna say in the game today, they should have had at least 4 goals. I feel
Dude,
like
Thomas
Eddie Nketiah
Partey.
could have had a hat trick. Oh, the one where he hit the post. And then here's the thing I don't quite understand. It was an own goal off Hugo Lloris, the Bukayo Saka.
Yeah,
I feel like, I guess, because was he shooting it or was he crossing it? It looked like a shot.
it did look like a cross.
It looked like a shot to me. I thought he was shooting it.
I just looked like it was maybe going across the goal to Nketiah, but yeah, it was on target, right? And that's what it has to be. It has to be on target.
Yeah. I'm like, if you shoot a ball and a keeper catches it like this, and you shot it so hard that when he parries it, it wobbles
right.
up and falls into the goal. I'm like,
Yeah, you're right.
what do you, it's
That's
not
a
like
good
it's not
point.
like it's not like it was a deflection off his face. Like he tried to make a save. It's like if you shoot a ball and like it hits the goalkeeper's hand and it like deflects to the left, but it still goes in, like
Yeah,
that's
that's
a goal.
not an own goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like that's not really an own, like that didn't seem like an own goal. It's not like, I just didn't feel, it felt like that should have been. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah, I
I'm
think
sure
that
I'm
if
sure he
this-
doesn't care.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't care. He's doing his celebration with that Zinchenko came up with. So I think that it doesn't really matter, but yeah, it's weird now that you mention that because I was like, I just took it. I just took it. I'm like, cool, 1-0, like whatever, it's a goal. So, but you're right. I mean, it's kind of upsetting that that's essentially a bobble, a big mistake by Lloris, and that should have been probably a goal to Saka. But whatever, it's a win. It's 3 points. It's
Yeah.
eight over City.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, congratulations to them. Uh, and I mean, it's still. I feel like we're people are also getting ahead of themselves. The season, we're not even halfway through the season at this point. If memory serves
For some
correctly.
teams, they've just hit 19 games. Like Spurs are
Okay.
officially halfway through. Arsenal are at
Okay.
18. City are at 18.
So
Newcastle,
I
I think, are
mean,
at 19. So
it's
some of
that's
them are
kind of
halfway.
scary, isn't it? Though, because like it's like we're halfway. Okay, let's just say we're
Okay.
basically halfway through. They got
Okay.
8 points. They have to now do this again.
No. Yeah,
Can
no.
they do
It's
this again?
not with the lack of depth they have. Imagine Bukayo Saka gets hurt. Then what? Who's coming in for him?
That's a wrap.
It's
Yeah,
a wrap, dude.
that's the only thing I was saying. Because I was like, if like, because I keep thinking like, oh yeah, like I feel like they're further along in the season. I'm like, no, they're not further
Yeah, I
along in the
know, right?
season. It's
No.
still
Feels like it
January.
though.
It feels like it, but it's like no, it's January. And I'm like I mean, other like I'm like. Especially like Man U has crept up now. Man U and City
Yeah.
are basically on the same. So it's like three teams are in there, and I'm like I'm looking at these three teams, and I'm like there's still like there's like I feel like it's I was like I feel like it's no one know like I don't know who's gonna win the league at this point. Like I feel
No.
like it's still wide open. Like 8 points, I feel like isn't like that's three wins or three losses. Like
Yeah.
is Arsenal? I guess a better way to put it is can Arsenal only lose 2 games before the end of the season? How many games have they lost up to this point?
Just against United. Just one.
Okay. So I mean, if so, like, so that if they lost one more, so say United does beat them, and could they
Okay.
go undefeated for the rest of the season? And I guess and more or less so undefeated, but they would have to be winning because you would assume other teams aren't going to be drawing. Like no more draws either.
And not only that, but one of the games in hand is against City. Or the game in
Okay.
hand is against City. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough thing. Luckily, like I said, luckily City lost. Can they do it? Yeah, they can, but it's a young team still. They've never been in this position. City has. City's chased from behind a number of times and come to win the league. So it's not like it's uncharted territory for City. Like every time, like City lost to Southampton in the EFL Cup, and they lost just a couple of days after that to I forget who beat them just recently, but they're acting like it's even more so that it's like City's out of the race. It's like no, 8 points. One of those games is against Arsenal. If they win that, they're immediately back in the run. They're really in the running. 8 points, like you said, is Arsenal loses 3 games, City wins 3 games, and they're ahead of them.
I'm looking at their schedule though, so it's not that bad. So they got Man U one time, they got City 2 times, and
Liverpool
then
once, right?
I don't see Liverpool on the schedule, but maybe I'm just
Okay.
overlooking them. I don't see. Oh yeah, Liverpool once, Chelsea once, Newcastle once. So
Yeah.
that's effectively 6 big games between now and the end of the season.
Not to
And they
mention like a relegation scrap against maybe like West Ham or Southampton again, who's gonna want to become in full fire. So
no, I
it's a
need to
tough.
put those games to bed.
They do. But I mean, again, I'm hoping this is the new old Arsenal that we're used to seeing 20 years ago, and not the one that we're used to seeing the last few years, who can easily lose to a Southampton in the bottom of the table. It's scary. I'm just gonna say that I'm happy if they make Champions League. If they win the league, I do think that it's my time though. You know what I'm saying? Like Argentina
Yeah.
won Copa America, Argentina won Finalissima, Argentina won World Cup. I mean, I'm flying high right now. So
I mean,
PSG
to
are
me
going to
that
win
sounds like
Champions
that. To me,
League.
that sounds like Argentina's gonna win the Premier League. That's what that sounds like.
PSG
I
is
don't
going
know.
to win the Champions League, and I think Arsenal is going to win the Premier League. That would be amazing. It is going to be a tough task. If they can do it, this would be such an amazing thing to pull off because They don't have the squad depth as a United. I mean, United really a City is what I meant to say, or of a Liverpool or a Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea's hurt,
Yeah,
but they bought an entire 12 guys this
man, they just
this
keep
this
buying new
year.
squads. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just keep buying new
So
first teams.
I think that it'll be tough. I'm just gonna say yeah, let's do this. Arsenal can do this. I'm still not trying to be overhyped, but it's time now that I start taking them seriously too because I like them.
All right. Well,
What do
I
you think? Do you think that
appreciate
they'll
your
win, or do you
dish.
think it'll be like City to come out and steal it from them?
I legitimately, I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't say one way or the other. I I would like to see them win. I
Yeah,
don't know. I could see a scenario where by no by no fault of theirs, just if a few players get injured, Odegaard gets injured, that's a wrap.
yeah.
Saka gets injured, that's a wrap. Martinelli gets injured,
Martinelli,
that's a wrap. You know what I mean? Saliba gets
Ramsdale. I
injured.
don't want to see Matt Turner come into goal. Come
Yeah, like they're
on.
like it's like yeah, it's mostly like if so many players get injured, that's a wrap. Like
Yeah,
you got two, like as far as I'm concerned, there's only like two guys on the bench that can come in and make a difference, and both of them are still like not really playing. Like Emil Smith Rowe's not playing, and I don't even know when Gabriel Jesus will be back. So it's like those are like the only
yeah,
really technical like options off the bench in my opinion. So I mean, so you say if someone gets injured, that's not the team's fault. Like that's just a part of the game. You get injured, okay, we slip into fourth place, and then City or United
yeah,
surge forward and take the league because
yeah,
if Marcus Rashford gets injured, there's Garnacho.
yeah,
If Phil Foden gets injured, there's Jack Grealish. If Kevin De Bruyne gets injured,
yeah,
there's 17 other players that can play not as good as him, but
yeah,
still World Cup caliber players that can step in, and if they decide they want to play, they could play. I don't know. I guess they're tired of winning, so that's always nice to hear. But yeah, I don't know. I say all that to say like I don't know. Where like I thought
yeah,
a few days ago I thought they could, but I was for some reason I was thinking it's like May or not May, like March. Like we're like 8
yeah,
games left in the season, but it's like no, there's half a season left. Like it's like
yeah,
closer to
yeah.
20 games. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for them especially, yeah. So it's a bit scary, but I mean, if they want to win it, they gotta continue in these games. So we'll see. That being said, I am proud of how well you brought up an Argentine in the Premier League. Brighton, man, Brighton's looking good.
yeah, bro. MacAllister looked like the best midfielder on the world against Liverpool the other day. I was like, what's going on, man? Like, who's going to give Brighton $150 million for McAllister, man? Forget about Enzo Fernandez. We need McAllister at the bridge. Somebody go
Really, I
sign
mean,
McAllister. Yo, Graham Potter, bring him over, man. You found him. Bring him to London. Tell him to
yeah,
quit playing around at the American Express Stadium and come play at the bridge.
yeah,
You
that's
know?
who they should be. I mean, I feel like that would be a good move for them. He's not costing 100 million, that's for sure.
How old is McAllister?
24, maybe 25. MacAllister,
Alexis. Yeah, he's 24. Yeah, bro. Go get McAllister.
24. Yeah, for
Yo,
real.
bro, go get Enzo and McAllister, man. I don't care. Bring them both. Bring them both. I didn't realize he was that young. He don't look young.
And no, he doesn't. No, definitely. And what is transfer market rates him at 42 million.
Oh, he's 80.
What?
So they'll want 80 million for him.
Yeah, so they're gonna if Chelsea's coming, they're gonna say, "All right, 80. He won a World Cup. You paid this no name, no known kid 100. We want 80 at
Yeah,
least."
easy, easy,
Yeah.
easy. All right.
Anyway, anything
Yeah,
else?
and he still has 2 years. Nah, man, let's call it that. I think that wraps it up. I'm trying to think anything else. Nah. So
Roma
we
won.
will keep an
Dybala
eye.
with 2 goals.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, in that case, Inter won as well, and Juventus lost to Napoli. We should sign Victor Osimhen. He's a baller too. There's so many ballers
How
out
he's
there.
still at Napoli is beyond me because he's been linked to
Yeah,
Arsenal, to Chelsea, to everyone, and he's
yeah. They
still at
want
Napoli.
to.
So
Yeah, because they want like 200 for him. They're like, you want Victor Osimhen? Do you have $200 million? No, you don't. Because Chelsea tried to sign him. Was like, oh, you don't have 200 million that you're willing to give us? Yeah, I guess he's gonna see his contract out and keep scoring goals and winning games and playing like a boss.
Yeah, he's
Anyway,
amazing. He's so good. All right.
all right, guys. Thanks for chilling with us. Keep an eye on the space. See how Arsenal does in the upcoming weeks. Looking forward to the rest of the leagues in Europe starting this week as well. Bundesliga coming back into action, namely. And we'll see you next week. Peace.